I never want to be someone that claims to have all the answers. And I never want to be someone who is like, here's how you can have your best life and I have the answers. Like, I am in the audience with everyone else. Like, hey, how do we figure this thing out? The difference is that I'm broadcasting myself as I figure everything out. And it's a unique choice and not one that like everyone feels comfortable doing with their life. But, you know, I always make sure that I feel like I personally feel confident enough, strong enough to be open about the vulnerabilities I experienced today, because I can't just have a thought that's like negative or about something not great in my life and then post it, because it's like that's opening up that issue that I haven't even thought about for more than 2 minutes to thousands of people to comment, judge, give their advice, hate on me, whatever.
We live in a complex and ever-changing world, a place that is maybe harder than ever to successfully navigate. The answer is surely to be brave, but it's also to seek and be open to guidance. Mentors are the one consistent through line in the lives of all accomplished people, myself included. So welcome to Mentor Buffet, a feast for those, like me, curious about who helped the most successful among us succeed. Victoria Garrick Browne is a mental health advocate, public speaker, podcaster, social media icon, and friend of mine. Victoria first shared her story about her anxiety and depression when she was playing Division I volleyball at USC, and since then, she's given TED Talks, been featured in a ton of magazines, and started her own nonprofit called The Hidden Opponent. And just last year, she was named to Forbes 30 Under 30 for her work. She's coming at it from all angles, and I love her podcast too. Her message is just to be real, and she is. Here's my conversation with Victoria Garrick Browne.
The environment of competing for a national championship, which is the goal, like when you play volleyball to school like USC, at the time I was there, we're here to win a national championship. And so that is to be the best in the country. And I think I almost felt like things are moving so quickly that it was hard for me to keep up. Like there wasn't the time to ride my bike home from high school or to have the 3 nights off of practice. In high school, you practice Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. Like you have more time to think about how you feel. Life is slower. But then when I was in college, you have so many classes, practice 6 days a week. On the 7th day, we have a voluntary something. So you barely have an off day, or you're traveling home. So you're surrounded by your teammates and coaches. So I think it was just moving so fast that at first I was like, okay, like this is the pace. And then it becomes months and months and months of suppressing things, not asking the questions, not having the time to have the conversations, that you're then in this place of, whoa, a lot's happened. And I'm not the girl I was when I walked on campus the first day.
It's like you're in a tornado that you didn't expect. Like it's coming at you and you have to keep up with it to stand. I was terrible on my team at Dartmouth when I first got there. And the seniors took us out drinking when we didn't do well. So it was almost like it was different, right? I went to Oregon eventually for a 5th year and that felt like that, but I wasn't 17, 18 anymore. And you were, right?
We had the National Player of the Year on our team. So for my very first game as a freshman, I was put on the court standing next to her. She is a senior, best player in American collegiate volleyball, and she wants to win. And so for me, it was very and I love Sam Bricio, absolute icon stud. I've never played on a team with a leader like her. She's incredible. I paint that picture to say I wasn't, while of course I had desires to go to the parties and meet boys, and I did find barely some moments to do that, the volleyball was intense. We were here to win. And so I think that's why when I think about my teammates, yes, of course, I feel like they experienced a lot of similar stress and pressure as I did. But I think when I kind of looked around, the vibe I got was this is how it is, and you sink or you swim. And I knew girls who sank, and that would mean, you quit the team or you get kicked off the team or you get cut, or you just find a way to dig deep and athlete it out and push through.
Okay, so you're keeping up as best you can, but feeling overwhelmed. And then Nicole walks in.
My sophomore year, I was starting in the home conference opener against UCLA. And in my mind, I begin spinning this story. Oh my gosh, this is everything I've ever wanted in my life. I'm the libero. We're playing UCLA. My whole family is coming. It's on TV. Like, I'm the libero for USC. Like, you build it up. Your ego starts like spinning it to be this really big situation that then you get that quick thought of, we can't fuck it up. Oh my God, how terrible and embarrassing would it be if like after all of this we ruin it or we fail, we fail. And I remember texting her, any words of wisdom or I'm starting tonight in the game or, whatnot. And the message that I got back from her was, you're going to make mistakes tonight. And that seeing on text is like, oh my God, what? Like, how could you say that? Like, that's what we don't want to even entertain a thought of making mistakes. And her teaching moment was, you're going to make mistakes tonight because everyone on the court is going to make a mistake tonight. It is inevitable. It's impossible to play a perfect game. Like, there's going to be a mistake. So when the mistake comes, that's okay. Like, brush it off, breathe through it. Oh, hey, there's the mistake. Because I was going to have one no matter what I did in my pregame warmup, no matter how I approach this game. So, she just had such a more mindful way of thinking about high level, intense sports moments that were for me the like, oh my God, I can't believe I was walking into this saying, do not make a mistake. That's I'm already setting myself up to fail and then to freak out when the mistake happens as if it wasn't supposed to. So by her almost saying like, accept the fact that you will be imperfect and then you can play free. So those were a lot of our conversations.
Think about it this way. Like, Nicole made you a jock. Like, because I feel like, I don't mean to like put that on you, but like to be a perfectionist and versus like a real jock, like a perfectionist, it's like a robot, like the image I have is so buttoned up. It's like you can't possibly move fluidly if you're afraid of failing, like in any sport, right? But the minute you can accept the possibility of failure or like not being graceful or all that is like, I feel like then you start to become a jock, like you become a real athlete. Because athlete isn't synonymous for not falling down. Actually, like when you think about athletes, you think like people kind of going for things in a big way and failing and succeeding in equal measure. And it must have felt kind of, did it feel good to like suddenly, did you take the advice?
I definitely took the advice. And I think it was a helpful like loosen the shoulders moment before the game. As you know, you can read a great quote and have a great conversation. And unfortunately, it's not like taking this pill that cures the anxiety or the thing that you're dealing with.
I was in Chile to shoot the Promorph shoot, and I was there with all my Merrill teammates. And my favorite memory from the shoot was we wrapped the shoot. It was beautiful. The sun was setting, and I hadn't run that day. And my teammate Rachel and I was wearing the Promorphs, and I was like, let's just go do a run right now down to the bottom of base camp. So I got my Promorphs on. Rachel's in really good shape. I haven't done a workout yet, but I'm about to try to get in shape. And I do my first workout in Chile in the Promorphs, barreling down this road. We're going from trail to road, and I felt fast. I felt amazing. And this was my first experience in these shoes. And I feel like it was this like empowering moment of like, welcome back to trying to get in shape. Welcome to these new shoes. They're going to go with you everywhere. That was my first experience with Promorph, and I loved it. And the reason why you can go from any surface to any other surface is because the Promorph all-terrain running shoe is super lightweight, really comfortable, and equipped with Float Pro foam and Vibram outsole to give you grip, whether you're on the road, the trail, or somewhere in between. And for a limited time, this is actually a really big deal. You can get 25% off the Promorph. That's really, really awesome. Using the code MentorBuffet25. You gotta do it, people. Like, these are awesome. They're probably gonna sell out. Who knows? I'm probably gonna win some races in them. I don't know. We could match. Taking a step back to USC, when did you meet Dr. Soni? Did you call him Dr. Soni?
I call him Dean Sony, but
Dean
it's so
Sony.
funny when you start as like a student of someone, so you call them like Mr. Professor this, and then you slowly become an adult and you're like, when do I stop? Like,
Yes.
even if they start, and then you look like for how they sign their emails or they refer to themselves, but it just feels weird. I'm like, I always called him Dean Sony. He was the Dean of Religious and Spiritual Life at USC, and he is just such an incredible human. And he did a guest lecture in one of my classes senior year, and he talked about how he spent so much time searching outside of himself for answers in life, going on this trip or doing this club, or he was, I believe, studied as a Buddhist monk for a while. And then, he did all these things, but then his whole point was, but the journey that I wasn't taking, that we all need to take, is the journey inwards. And I just felt so captivated by his message, and then found his email in the school directory and emailed him and said, I was in that class last night and I really was so moved by what you said. Can I come talk to you? I have some more questions. And so he responded, and then I went to his office and met with him. And then when I started my podcast, I was like, would you want to come on my podcast? Because I want what you said to be shared with everyone. And his episodes on Real Pod are my favorites, and slowly developed a relationship with him where I almost view him more as like a life and higher thoughts type of mentor, where we can ask those bigger questions of meaning and purpose. And I often find myself going in and out of I'm in the societal hamster wheel of success, grind, earn things, do things, become more. And then wait, let's zoom out.
Yeah.
Life is happening all around us. Let's be present. Let's and I realized that the perfect way would be to blend everything together and feel the presence and the purpose and the mindfulness breathing into everything you do every day. But my conversations with Dean Sony are always about that, the meaning of life, purpose, the bigger, higher things that I love talking about.
And I am really curious because you have like a presence in a show that's like you, right? Do you feel like you're in personality or do you feel like you really are just you? Like when you're being real? Is that an okay question to ask?
Yeah.
Is it both, or what is it?
I feel like I am me the whole time. So I think that's what makes what I do feel so seamless and fulfill me, is that I literally just get to be myself every day. So I feel so blessed that that's what I get to do. The whole reason I even started my podcast, Real Pod, or posting and building my Instagram following was because of the message of let's drop the mask and be real and be ourselves. So it's been a huge blessing as it's evolved, because I'm allowed to evolve with that, because if I'm committing to always being my authentic self, I mean, how wonderful is that I don't have to act or be any sort of way. And if I have a bad day or I'm feeling low, that's the post. I'm having a bad day and I'm feeling low. I don't have to be like, well, I got to pretend to be happy today and act like everything's happening, because we're not allowed to say those things here. Hey, wait, this is the point of what we do, is to be able to be real about even when we're not feeling like the best version of ourselves.
Man, I'm so thirsty. If you're thirsty too, and you want to try non-alcoholic beer, which I've been doing because I'm dry, because I'm trying to race soon, you can go to gobrewing.com/Alexi and you can get 15% off your order of Go Brewing. You can get this chilada, or you can get any other flavor. I love them all, especially on a hot day like today. Let's take a sort of sideways turn to you creating nonprofit, creating resources for other people, becoming mentor. When you decided to do all these things, are you trying to fill a gap that you didn't have? Are you trying to fill gaps that you see? What is it that you're waking up and doing? Is it a need you have because of what you've experienced, or because of what you're seeing in the world?
I think it's a mix. Specifically, when I first graduated USC and went on to become a public speaker and deliver variations of, the TEDx talk that I gave at different campuses and connecting with different athletes and coaches, I would see like hundreds of student athletes coming up and saying, I've had similar experiences, or I have the same struggle. I don't know where to go. I don't know who to talk to. I didn't know someone else felt this way. I want to help. And so founding The Hidden Opponent was trying to create a place where we can be the answer for all those needs. And like we can cast this wide net to all these student athletes so that we can have strength in numbers and we can work towards this thing together. So, one of the main things that we do is, of course, destigmatize this conversation in sports culture. And we want athletes to be able to come to us and share their stories and have a platform and feel heard and know that that's a safe place. And we are here to have these types of deep conversations. Also to educate, provide free resources, free webinars, bring in mental health professionals to talk to these student athletes and help them and arm them with tools and coping skills and strategies. And then to support, whether that's peer-to-peer support and training that we do there, or knowing that, hey, there's this big community of The Hidden Opponent that exists to be a solution to this problem. And that, I think, in itself is comfort from, when I was struggling and feeling like there was not that out there.
I was going to ask if Victoria, when you got to USC, would have sought out this resource if you knew it existed. Like being a perfectionist, would you have sought it out if you knew it was there?
I just don't think as a freshman I associated myself as someone who needed a mental health resource. So I think it's like I never would have thought of myself to be someone who would eventually be depressed or have anxiety to need something like that. So that's why. But then once I was struggling and feeling so alone, oh my gosh, it would have been the best thing I could have stumbled across.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just interesting, like the moment you don't think you need help. Like often we don't think we need help until we absolutely need it. It's like we don't see ourselves as people who need it until we're like desperate for it. And then forever we're like, no, we could always use help in that way.
Yeah. I just had never experienced any severe mental health issues before. So it's just like anything in life. Until it happens to you, you don't think, you're not thinking about it because you've never needed it, which in itself was a blessing that I had been like 18 years of life and not needed to think I was part of that conversation, to then get kind of like hit over the side of the head and been like, oh my gosh, wait, I'm really struggling. And I also think a lot of that too is the stigma of the way that mental health was communicated to me of, crazy people are in therapy. And thinking, well, I'm never going to be crazy. Or like the person who is a standout on the volleyball team and has good grades, that couldn't be that person. If you're a leader, you're a captain on your team, it's not that person. It's always the shy person or the person who's not a leader, who's not like, so it was built up in my mind so untruthfully that I didn't want to associate with it or think I could because I viewed it as a weakness. And so that's a lot of the rewiring that I like to discuss today, so that people know it's not a weakness to struggle with your mental health or to seek help for those issues, but that we all are humans. It's part of the human experience to suffer. And I hope everyone asks for help, whether it's with a professional or to someone in their life when they're struggling.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like that you didn't know that a color existed. And then you're like, no, that color exists. And occasionally it's going to like come up because it doesn't really like fully go away, like those things. It's like once I don't know if you feel that way, but like obviously you have bad days and good days, but like some of those thoughts like come, you know what I mean? They just like come back like weather patterns or something. And it's weird to like cross over and be like, I'm someone who is not like immune to this. I guess like a real question I have is like, do you ever feel like there's a lot of people that like look up to you and they're like they identify with you, right? I feel like you're pretty clear that sometimes you haven't navigated or figured something out, but do you ever not know how to like report on how you feel? Do you know what I mean? Like we talked about words earlier and you don't always have the words to talk about it, whatever you were feeling freshman year. Do you always have the words now?
Oh my gosh, of course not.
Yeah.
I never want to be someone that claims to have all the answers And I never want to be someone who is like, here's how you can have your best life and I have the answers. Like, I am in the audience with everyone else. Like, hey, how do we figure this thing out? The difference is that I'm broadcasting myself as I figure everything out, and it's a unique choice and not one that like everyone feels comfortable doing with their life. But, you know, I always make sure that I feel like I personally feel confident enough, strong enough to be open about the vulnerabilities I experienced today, because I can't just have a thought that's like negative or about something not great in my life and then post it, because it's like that's opening up that issue that I haven't even thought about for more than 2 minutes to thousands of people to comment, judge, give their advice, hate on me, you know, whatever.
Yes.
So I typically now, it's like if I'm struggling with something, I work through that in my life and I'll be candid about like, this has been a tough month, or I've been going to therapy more recently, or, you know, I'm open about that, but I don't necessarily always address exactly what it is until I then feel like I have the words and feel like I'm a few steps ahead of it so that I have the strength no matter like what comes my way. So recently I released a podcast episode called I've Been Struggling, where I detailed the recent body image and food issues I've been having again in my life. And that was an episode that I waited like months to record prior to when it was at its peak.
Yeah, that is very important, because it's like when you write anything, when you write a movie, it's like the writer is smarter than the characters in the movie. And of course, you're the writer and the character and the real person. But like, I think people don't always realize that like you're thoughtful. Do you know what I mean? Just because you're being yourself doesn't mean you're not incredibly thoughtful about like the awareness that people are watching you.
I mean, totally. I mean, thoughtful and strategic. Like
and strategic, exactly.
like,
it's like,
you know,
yeah.
but you have to be like, it's, if I want to tell that story of how I really was feeling, what's the best way I can do that to reach the amount of people and like to do it in a way that is optimal for them. And, you know, that is a little bit of the weird part of this. And I think that's a reason why I've really stopped giving keynotes. I used to give a lot of keynotes where I would basically share my story, but I felt like it was becoming too much. I felt like there was too much of a disconnect, because I'm like, wait, I'm being paid to perform / deliver and like execute what these people want me to execute about talking about something that should never feel like it needs to be perfectly buttoned with a great transition sentence and a perfect hook and a like, and you know, it's like I'm working with a speaking coach and I'm rethinking like, well, when I tell this story about my suicidal ideation, how do I lead up to the like to where it becomes so like you just can't, or maybe it's me, but it became funky feeling to get on a stage and perform what really occurred in my life in a deep, dark way. And yet I'm doing it. It's a performance. If someone is giving a keynote, they're performing.
Yeah.
Not that that's a bad thing. You picked out your outfit to look professional. You shook 10 hands before they read your bio and they called you out on stage. There's a light coming down. You've got a mic on your face. You've got your slides. Like, I have to be prepared. That's why I'm there to do it. But that began to feel like just really like I would just feel a lot of anxiety before speaking, because it's like you just want to say like, this shit's hard, and like, you know, you just want to like open up and be really real as you talk about it, but that's impossible. Like anyone who's given any sort of keynote knows like you're taking the concept that people really care about and then you're figuring out how to package it in the perfect bow. And I once heard someone, who was it, on Armchair Expert, so beautifully described this feeling. And he was a former public speaker who had given like hundreds of keynotes, and he described it perfectly. And I remember listening to that and playing it back and being like, oh my God, I feel so seen. It's just like a weird thing to describe. Is this making sense?
It makes perfect sense. And it's weird because I was like, oh, like some people oscillate between these, because it's basically like you are choosing to like live your life and share your life in a way that represents constant change. You're very observatory. You're not super conclusionary, right? And these speeches are conclusionary. You're trying to say something, right? And it seems like very different than the way that you choose to share and the way that people are actually like being helped by you, because what you're saying is like the story will continue by sharing in the way that you do. You're kind of like checking in, but the stories always continue with you. Whereas with these speeches, it is very different, right? I think a lot of times with these speeches, people also come expecting to be helped, and you're helping people by sharing, but it feels like your first instinct is to share and be open, and you keep in mind how it might help or hurt somebody, but you're answering to your own self first or your experience.
And I would never like end any of my talks as if I had an answer. You know, it's more so because of that. You're correct. Like, I'm not trying to get up there and say, and here's how you cure your performance anxiety as you finish your semester. Yeah. So, you know, I would always end by getting people to understand, like, if you've related to what I'm saying, like, you're not alone in what you're going through. And the best thing that I ever did was reach out and seek help. And if I never did that, I wouldn't be here. You know, there's so much power in being your true self. So I always felt authentic in what I was saying, but I felt like I was also dissociating, because you can't, like, when people have a tough therapy session or trauma in their life, usually you work on that and then you move forward. You don't think about it 6 times a month as you fly different places to retell the story. So it was like, that was the weird thing, is I'm going to talk about something that's like the darkest time of my life. And that's not easy to talk about, but I need to like talk about it, and I have to do it in like the perfect way.
Wow. That's so healthy though, because like so many people live their lives like kind of playing defense on what they already did. Like athletes are a great example of like, if you have a great accomplishment as an athlete or a great story, it could have been a great dip, whatever. A lot of people just keep living their life like retelling that story, or it's like a derivative of that story. And that's why I thought when I was like thinking about you, I was like, oh, you refer to your past when you need to, but you're really, really present. And that seems to be like,
am I? Thank you.
Well,
I try.
That's what you're just saying though, right? Like you're saying that like essentially, like if you were to live that life of like keynote, you would be just like revisiting something over and over again.
And so now I do moderated Q&As. So I didn't want to completely say I'll never come to a group of people and try to help them, because I love doing that. But so I was like literally had to think with my team of like, how can I do this in a way that doesn't give me so much anxiety, like on the flight, as I prepare, as I get there. So now I do moderated Q&A. So it's same setup, you know, same crowd, and I get to talk about my story, but it doesn't feel like it has to be perfect. You know, like we have the list of the 20 questions, and I know if we talk about these 20 questions, I'm gonna be able to hit everything that I think is going to be helpful for these people. But now I can be like, and when I was at coffee this morning at the hotel, I had the same thought. Like I can just be more present as I talk about it, and also like pick and choose like how I'm feeling that day on like where I want to go with it, or read the audience and like what I think is going to be helpful. So that has been like so great, because now I don't have any of those stressful feelings when it comes to talking and public speaking.
Whenever you can like boil something down to something so silly and stupid, it's like the whole world is so made up, and it's so it's like we define. Yes, we're in the
simulation.
We're in the simulation.
I love talking about simulation theory. Don't even get me started. It's so funny to me.
I like thinking about simulation theory. And this will be the last thing, and then we can bring out those questions. Someone told me to like imagine that your whole life was like, or they heard something where it was like people said that there was a scenario of like you have infinite lives and you kind of decide the dice of each life, but you can have infinite. So you could be like, in this life, I'm going to like be this and this. I'm going to be tall and da-da-da. And these are the things that happen to me. And then it plays out, but you decide ahead of time. And it was such an interesting thing, because and they said that basically eventually you would have chosen the life that you have now, like, because you would have gotten so bored of the like the version where you were the queen and you were everything. So you might have chosen this version. And I thought it was so interesting because if you think about it as like, perhaps you chose this version, like perhaps you chose all the unfortunate events, then it like becomes a little bit more interesting because you're like, okay, things are going to happen. This was predetermined and I chose it so that when all these things happen, it doesn't feel so offensive.
I literally have been saying this theory to one of my best friends our entire life in the way of just like, if I sprained my ankle, it's like, well, what if someone said you could lose your entire leg or sprain your ankle? I'd be thrilled that I just sprained my ankle. Like, so always thinking about like, it could be 10 times worse. What if you chose this?
Yes, I love this approach to life. This is brilliant because it's just, it's perspective.
I just think whatever gets you to acceptance is like, however anyone needs to think about it to make it make sense that like, I'm going to accept this is my current reality. Let's get there, because acceptance is like, oh God, it's like it's the key to the present moment. It's the key to everything. And it's so hard to accept things that are not the way we want them to be.
Yeah. It's like you can use your imagination however is useful to you. It takes imagination to do this.
And also, well, I don't know if I want to go here, but I think I won't, but I'll tell you later.
If you're enjoying Mentor Buffet, follow Voicing Change for more inspirational and truly life-affirming content from shows like Soul Boom, The Proof, Feel Better, Live More, and the Rich Roll podcast. Just go to voicingchange.media. That's voicingchange.media for a beautiful selection of productive and positive shows.